So hi, my name is Tunde Mason. I'm I was recently promoted to head of product design at Kuda. And this is how we slightly pivoted our app from being just for Nigerians to be for more Africans outside Nigeria. So yeah, that's the title. Designing experiences beyond your primary target audience. Okay. So in 2021, we had reached like a critical mass of customers in Nigeria. We were like, we felt like we had conquered the Nigerian market. And we're looking for our next challenge. So we started thinking about other places to go into, what we could do to like expand our reach. And we thought we would go into other countries. So to do that, the app had to be changed to be reworked to like allow for all those other people from other countries to sign up. The way it was built was only for Nigerians, so it had to change. This was the app at the time. I don't know if some of you remember it. It actually took a lot for us to even get here, because it didn't look very good when I joined the team. It was like basically a wireframe, and I had to pull some strings. I actually used the career app at the time as like one of the case studies in which we used to like get this design. Yeah. So yeah, that was an interesting time. But it had served its purpose, and we had to like move on. So we thought about different countries, but like these three countries were like the major ones we ended up in. We had like so apart from design team, we had like a research and expansion team at Kuda at the time, and their job was to go through, to look at all the countries available and figure out which ones were the best for us to get into. They ended up at these three countries: Ghana, Uganda, and the UK. For this presentation, we'll talk about the UK because that was like the most interesting one, and that was the one we made like the most progress with. Yeah. So why did we choose the UK? I mean, first of all, our parent company is based in the UK, and by default, or like by normal observation, you know that, well, I'm sure you have friends that have gone to the UK or jackpot to the UK that send money back, like send black tax back to Nigeria. So it seemed like a no-brainer to start there. And from the data that we found, there's like what $24 billion sent to Nigeria through remittances almost every year. So we decided that we should focus on a place where we could get some easy money. And it was also a place where we could easily find similarities between what we were doing and, so like the Nigerian app and like the way Nigerians send money and the way UK people send money is kind of similar. So we could find some middle ground. Yeah. So the app had to be redesigned to focus on modularity. The current app, as I said, was built just for Nigerians. The new app had to be built to allow for us to built and designed for us to add and remove any new currencies depending on what the situation was far into the future. So this was the current app at the time. It was just like you enter, you sign up, you put in your BVN, your NIN, your ID, and you enter and you just see your new banner. You can send money or receive money or whatever. But the new app had to accommodate all these things and also like an additional one if you wanted to add or remove. Or you could remove any of these ones too, no matter what happened. And so all of that was based on changing the structure from just having like a single account to having a profile that could house all these types of accounts. Um, I mean, it sounded pretty daunting to start with. That was why I enjoyed it anyway. But we figured something out eventually. So to attack this challenge, the three major flows that we had to fix or change were onboarding, dashboard, and payment. So we'll start with onboarding. So with the boots we had on the ground and some research and some comparison analysis, discussions with our partners over there, we had people in compliance, we had people in research that were like giving us data. We have people who like actually went there and like opened bank accounts with like different apps like Monzo, Revolut, and the likes, and like will send us screenshots and screen recordings. We had our user researcher Onye, who spoke to a lot of people who like shuttles between Nigeria and the UK, figured out how they used their apps, what they thought would make sense. We did like a lot of wireframes and prototypes, shared with them, spoke with them. It was a lot of work, and we ended up finding out how a UK customer needed to sign up. So for example, here you need your BVN, your phone number, maybe like an ID to sign up to a bank account or to get a bank account. There it was similar, but it had like some very key differences. A customer mostly needs their address, a home address, because of the way their, let's say, KYC system works there. If once they know where you live, they can easily figure out other things about you. They can figure out, they basically know everything about you from your house address. So you can use that house address to extrapolate, basically get all the data that they need on your, let's say, your financial background. So you can either use that or a bank statement or your permanent resident card, your passport. As long as those documents have your address there, they can find out whatever they need to find out about you. But in a nutshell, I would say you need to find out what works in that new market you're getting into. We got data from the research. We also had like some partners that gave us things that were particular to, well, the things that the regulators really wanted or required for people to open an account. And it was a lot. Like it was quite a lot. And we spent, I don't know how many iterations we did. Like, this is just like a cross-section of all the versions we did for onboarding. Almost every day there was a new thing. I can't even say how long it took. I think we started working on it in late 2021, but I think even till now, we're still making updates to our onboarding flow. Because there's always something new happening. Either there's a partner that is down, or there's a company. There's that balance you have to like find between what the regulators want, what the company needs, and what makes sense for user experience. So like it's a never-ending process, and like it just keeps going on and on. But for this particular period, at least to launch, we found something that worked, and we had to go through all this first before we ended up there. So the dashboard, I mean, this is like the thing you see when you enter the app. That's the old one, and this is what eventually figured out from for the research we did. So you have to accommodate new currencies, new types of transactions, and also multiple currencies at the same time. One thing I found really interesting was how different currencies are presented in different countries. For example, now the Ugandan shilling is one particular interesting one. Is more useless than the naira. So like people can have like 1 million shillings can be like 50K. So you have to have like enough space to accommodate many commas. And then the CD, well, they have what they're doing there. Sometimes they remove zeros, sometimes they add zeros. It's all over the place. And obviously the pound, this one is straightforward and stable. But we had to like accommodate all these use cases in the new dashboard. We also had to have the capacity to show multiple currencies, because with this new version you could have more than one bank account. You could have like if you're able to open an account to that country anyway. If you have a Naira account, you could have a GBP account. You could add additional balances as well. You could also have a remittance account too. And that's where we came up with one of my favorite components, the account switcher. So you basically click on this icon, and then it brings up all the accounts that you have. And if you have the capacity to create a new one, this button is active, and you click it, and then you go through the onboarding flow for any new currency that you have, or that's available rather. And it seemed clear from the start that we were going to do this, but it was just one of the most fascinating things that I worked on, because it's just interesting. Like, it's different from like the usual just name inquiry, send money, airtime, bill payments that we're doing in Nigeria. And yeah, so for payments, this was also very fascinating, because we had to find out how people in the UK send money, and find similarities between how someone sends pounds and someone sends naira in those different countries. Luckily, there are some very, very clear guidelines that were sent by the regulator on how to do those things. And we compared notes between what we did before and what we have now, and found like similar flows or patterns between those two, let's say, flows. So the main reason why we did that was so we could easily add other types of payments without changing the let's say mind map the person will have to do to send money each time they had sent to a new currency. But the basic thing is, when you want to send money, you have to enter the account details first, and that's what we decided anyway. Enter account details first before you enter amounts, and then decide how much you want to send to the person. So for Nigeria, you know this one, name inquiry, choose bank, put account number. But here, you have to enter the account type, first name, last name, account number, and sort code. And then you go to the next screen. So obviously we have to do this for different reasons. So the customers as well, I already mentioned that. And for designers, so we could reuse components, and that makes work easier for us going forward. And for developers too as well. So because when you change something, they'll say, we've done this before, we don't want to add another one. So please try and reuse the same component again. So that was really helpful. So another thing we learned from working with, working within the UK was that they had a similar thing that we have when it comes to confirming who is receiving money. But there's some key differences there. So here, when you want to send money, you have to put in the account number and the name, and then it shows you who is receiving the money. So I want to send money to Dara. I put in bank account number, and you have to do the request first. It shows you his name. But there, they have that, but the person can choose not to have their name checked. The person can choose, the person can choose not to have the name checked, or you can actually send it to them without confirming who is receiving the money. So you can send money to an account detail or to an account, and you can just go and you don't know who is receiving the money. I mean, it caused a lot of scams in the UK, and they decided to bring this thing up in 2020, which is very recent, to be fair. But yeah, I thought it was just fascinating, and it's one of the things that, one key difference between sending money in the UK and Nigeria. So for payments as well, for sending money, we also had to have a variant of the currency switcher here, which we called, well, the account switcher rather, which is called the currency switcher. So if the person had more than one currency on their account, it won't make sense if, or it won't be very feasible if we just have just a list of accounts there. It has to be like hidden behind something so they could see other payment types, because we had like all other various kind of payments here. So when you click on send money, it shows you the currencies that you have on your accounts if you have more than one, and you can choose which one you're sending from, and they can go through the flow that's relevant to that currency. This is another fun thing that we did, adding the transaction charts. I think some people may have seen it already if you use Kuda. This one was added just because it was a fun thing to do. It wasn't based on any research or anything. Just like, what, let's just do something for fun. After grinding this thing out for like almost 18 months, it took a bit of convincing to get this done, and we still have to like defend it sometimes. But once in a while, you see customers posting screenshots of this thing and like, see, people like it,
How does it work?
So basically, when you have a beneficiary and you send money to them and they send money back to you, it just appears on the chart. So when you go to send money, you can see your recent payments, and when you click on recent payments, you can see like your historical payments to that person. And from each one, you can actually click on it and see like transaction details. And you can start to send money to them again, or add them as a proper beneficiary. Sometimes just like, this is just history. And if you don't add them as a beneficiary and you probably log out or something, it goes away. But once you have them as a beneficiary, you still see this. But that's how it should work anyway.
So if somebody is it back to the Ugandan shilling?
Yeah.
Just trying to imagine the text bubble,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of numbers there.
Yeah.
How?
I mean, it's not going to go past this. Or you could even get here, or like. So yeah.
What was the feedback on this one?
Everyone liked it, but like, do you mean from internally or customers? Both. So customers liked it. I mean, initially, I think with every redesign, there's always some pushback at first from customers. I think the first couple of months with the redesign, there was some pushback, but eventually people started enjoying it. They got used to it. Internally, I mean, everyone liked it, but there was some, let's say, there's some limitations on what we could actually achieve with it. For example, this works well with. It works better with, for some reason, it works better with interbank transactions than internal transactions. And occasionally I think when there's some downtime, you may lose some transactions, but generally it works. And most people like it.
So was it just for like what led to designing? Like was it just? You said that there was no research.
Yeah.
So like was it just for just school?
That's one reason. So there's one commitment that we've had from the beginning, and that's like to always design based on what people are familiar with. So if we find a pattern that is, if you're trying to build a new thing and there's a general way it's already done compared to what people are used to, we try and find other ways to improve it with other things that are adjacent to it design-wise. So, for example, one of the things that we did, I think on the first version of the app, was having like your contacts show like Instagram stories on like the payments page. They're not directly connected, but like it just seemed like a nice way to display contacts. So we're not showing like a long list. We show like everything on top. and that's something that people see every day on Instagram. So initially, when people got there, they always just click on it and see what it does, and that was just like a way to get to increase engagement. So if people see things that they're used to seeing somewhere else that is more not what they're used to see on other banking apps, it will always like, pique their interest, and they can just click on it and say, oh, let me try this thing. So yeah, we have that's like just been our philosophy from the start. Always designing based on. I mean, there's always research and like there's always feedback, but always picking things out of what people find fun. Um, yeah. So after doing all of this, we launched in the UK, and unluckily for us, the launch happened around the same time, so like 2022, end of 2022, happened around the same time that the whole funding winter happened. So we couldn't really push it like as aggressively as we wanted to,
They push it out.
like marketing wise. Um, we launched it. Yeah, we launched it. It went out. We have customers that are using it, but we had to like kind of scale down the efforts because running that part of the app was kind of expensive. I've had to find like a more affordable way to run it without bleeding cash. So it still works, it's still there, but we found a different, or we're still strategizing on finding a different way to run that same type of account with in a more economically feasible way, um, and also have like other types of accounts as well. Um, but I would say it was like a very very valuable and very rewarding experience for all of us involved because we learned a lot.